guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Crystal and I am back with another video. I am finally going to talk about the Airbnb experience from my vacation in July. This is highly overdue and I am very much aware. However, as you know, your girl has been preoccupied, with mom duties at the moment, so a lot of things are just kind of taking a little longer in terms of my routine and everything like that. But I'm working on it. I'm getting a whole lot better. I wanted to get all glammed up for this video, but I am going out in an hour or two, so I just figured the bonnet kind of looked cute, so we're gonna keep it like that and we're gonna try to get this video done before baby wakes up. So first things first, if you haven't seen my vacation vlogs, they are on my channel. You can definitely go check those out, but I will link them up here so you guys could watch those videos first. Also, I have the first story time, which also involved my vacation in Florida, which was basically my motel from hell story time. So that motel is where we stood for the first 3 days, and after those first 3 days then we went to an Airbnb. You definitely want to hear that story first because that's how the vacation started, and then it kind of builds up into the Airbnb, which I'm going to be talking about now. So if you've watched the motel from hell story time and you don't remember, for the first 3 days of the vacation we stayed in that motel. On the 4th day, which was the Monday, we were moving into the Airbnb. We booked this Airbnb specifically because my sister-in-law, she's in a wheelchair and their pool was wheelchair accessible. We're on vacation, we're having a good time, we want everybody to enjoy, nobody to feel left out, so that was the main reason for booking this house. I don't believe there was any other house in that area that was wheelchair accessible. So the owner of this Airbnb definitely got some extra points for that aspect of the house, so this is the reason why that house was booked. We got to the Airbnb, there was a code that we needed to open the door, so we did that, went in. The house was really nice. I do believe I have some photos, so I will include them here now. But overall, the house was great. It's a lot of space. I believe it was 3 or 4 rooms. I'm trying to remember. 1, 2, 3. No, it was 3 rooms. So one was the master. There was another queen size, and then there was one that had it was more of like a kid's room. But it worked for all of us that were staying in the house. The first day, which was the next day that we were there, we planned to have, my mother-in-law planned to have a family day. So remember, it was a bunch of us on vacation. Some of us stood at one house and some of us stood at another house. So everybody from the other house was supposed to come to our Airbnb and have a family day, hang out in the pool, grill, things that you do in the summer on vacation. So I remember that day I wasn't really in the best mood that day. I wasn't really feeling good. Keep in mind, your girl was pregnant, emotions are high, all of that stuff. So I remember everybody getting to the house, saying hi to everyone. The kids all got in the pool. Everything was going really good. I ended up going to take a nap. Did that, probably napped for maybe an hour, I believe, maybe not even that long. So obviously I left everyone there having a good old time, talking, catching up, everything. And then eventually after my nap, I woke up, came outside, and no lie, everybody was gone, family wise. So anybody who was staying in that other Airbnb, nobody was there within that hour of me sleeping when I came back out. So it was very strange because I knew we had a whole family day planned. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe they went to do something to come back. But you have to understand, I'm talking about the kids, parents, everybody was gone. So only people who remained were those of us who were actually staying in the Airbnb, and 2 other family members. So I came out, my husband wasn't there. So the first thing I thought of was, let me text him, see where he's at, you know, let me find out. So texted him, no response or whatever. So then eventually I went, sat in the living room. My mother-in-law and everybody else was talking, and then I proceeded to ask them, well, where did everybody go? They ended up telling me that the owner of the Airbnb basically said that everybody else who was in the house who was not staying there needed to leave because there was only supposed to be a certain minimum amount of people in the house. Mind you, when we booked the Airbnb, there was a house rule list, about like 3-4 pages long, not exaggerating. Hubby is somebody, he likes to wing things. I don't, because I tend to believe that in order to prevent issues, that you're prepared and you know what's gonna happen. So when he printed out the house rules, something just told me to read them. So I took the due diligence and decided, okay, I'm gonna read the house rules, so at least I'm familiar with what's on there, and you know, I'll just inform everybody if there's anything ridiculous or anything like that that was listed on there. It did mention the number of people allowed to be in the house, but it never said anything about people not being able to come over and visit. So that kind of put like a whole just dent in the whole mood, because you know, it became to a point where she threatened to call the cop. It was a whole bunch of nonsense. So they're going back and forth with her on text, and she's upset because there's too many people in the house, there's too many cars in the driveway. Mind you, it was only 3 cars because we have one family member who lives in Florida who came to visit, and then we had the other car for all the other family members that were, you know, vacationing just like us. She was just being petty. I don't know if it was a race thing. I mean, I really hate to even bring race into anything, but a lot of the times when situations like this happen, you can't think of any other reason. Like, why is it that we're the only ones? This entire gated community, most of them are actually owned, the owners actually live in them, and then the rest of them are Airbnb. So there's other people vacationing just like us. So why are we the only ones having an issue? So I think it ended up really causing everyone to be upset, that she was even making this such a big deal. The whole point is, when you book an Airbnb and it says that, you know, there's a certain number of people who need to be in the Airbnb, that really only applies to at nighttime, when it's in terms of who's staying over. So you're telling me that someone books an Airbnb and nobody can come over to see them? Like, it's ridiculous. And nowhere in the house rules did it say that, and I specifically read it myself. It does not say anything about that. It says how many people can be in the house, but it does not say, by the way, there should be no visitors. It never insinuated anything to that extent. And I mean, it's just unreasonable for you to tell someone who books a place and is staying there for a certain amount of days, that family who is actually living in that same state cannot come over to visit them and say hi. They're not sleeping over, we're not causing a ruckus, we're not making noise, none of those things. So I don't understand what the problem is. So basically the family got upset. Whoever was staying in the other Airbnb decided to leave. They picked up the kids, and just to not cause problems for us, because obviously we had 4 more days there and there was nowhere else for us to go, because previously in my other story time, the reason why we stayed at that horrible motel in the other story time was because there was no other hotels. Everything was booked because it was 4th of July weekend. So just to avoid any issues, the family thought it was just best for them to leave. So they ended up doing that, and I was just baffled that all of this happened within an hour of me taking a nap. Like, I just don't understand. The kids came, everybody was in the pool, we were having a good time, there was no noise, nothing, and the owner was just being really unreasonable. So it kind of just left a bad taste in our mouth about the place. Like, yeah, she gained points for having the wheelchair accessible pool, but for the experience and how everything was handled was just super disappointing. Like, at one point we were told that that the security is who notified her about that we were rowdy and all of that. And then you have to be careful, because when you're dealing with anything that has to do with my husband, like, he's very precise. And if you say, oh well, this person told me this, like, he's going to look into it to find out if you're telling the truth. Because she was trying to cop a plea, and she was trying to say that it had nothing to do with her, that she was not the one who was complaining, but said that the security, which, remember, it was a gated community, that the security all the way in the front, they were the ones who called, which was a lie, because my husband went and spoke to the security desk, and they don't even have a phone in the booth. And the lady that was there that day when my husband went to ask, she said that nobody called, they don't even have a phone in here, so they have no idea what she's talking about. That right there is kind of what made it seem like it was a race thing. Even the security guard herself said, well, maybe it's because you guys are of a certain race, you know, that she's acting like this or whatever, because they've never had any issues with anyone staying in any of these Airbnbs. So it wasn't the security guard. Then it went from her saying it was the security guard to saying that the person next door to us was the one who complained. So my husband, what do you think he did? Went next door. Come to find out, the people next door were vacationing just like us. So think about it. These are not people who live there all year round. These are people vacationing just like us. What do they gain out of saying that the person next door is being rowdy and making a fuss? Nothing. So that also was a lie. So it was just her. And obviously, I don't know if you know, a lot of these Airbnbs, these people are extra super scared. They feel like you're gonna mess up the house. That was one of her excuses. There's too many people in this house, they're gonna mess up my house. Like, what are we doing? Are we like bouncing from wall to wall? Are we like jumping? Like, I don't understand. Like, what is it that we could possibly do, majority of us as adults, to destroy your house? Like, she was being ridiculous, you know what I'm saying? And she just ruined the entire experience. The fact that we couldn't have that family day, the rest of the days, it's like we tried our best not to even be in the house. We actually got up, got ready, and left, and was out for most of the day, and only came back when it was time to sleep. Like, she literally ruined the entire experience. Thank God it was only like, we only had 3 or 4 days left there, and I mean, we couldn't wait to leave just because of that incident. And it was so ridiculous. And at that point, it didn't matter how nice the house was or anything. It's just, like, it just ruined everything for us. We were having such a good time, and the fact that we already had an issue at the motel that we stood at for the first 3 days, and now we're having an issue at the Airbnb, I was just like, oh my God, like, is this really how Florida is going to be for my first time visiting there? Like, it was just a super bad experience. And I know a lot of us, we don't like to use the race thing or say that's what it was, or discrimination, but I really do feel like that's what it was. And it sucks even more because my sister-in-law is in a wheelchair, and that definitely should not have happened. Like, you made her feel like crap just because of your insecurities and your personality and the type of character that owner was. So it was super ridiculous. So the trip took really a bad toll. But throughout the trip, I mean, after that happened, I realized there was a book on one of the when you walked into the house, there was this little counter, and there was a book there, and I was just curious. I'm like, let me see what this is. So I opened the book, flipped through some of the pages, and I realized that people were writing basically their review of the place, or what their experience was like in those books. And I'm going through the pages, and they were really short paragraphs, nothing too long, and I was really reading through the pages, and practically all of them, I might say, were good reviews. I was reading through them, but then when I got towards the end, or like certain places, you can tell that pages were ripped out of it. So I am just assuming that whoever stayed in that house and left a bad review, she would rip the pages out. And that alone just said so much to me at that point, after the experience that we just had and everything that was going back and forth with her. To see that book and see that every single review that was left in that book was a good one, and pages were ripped out because most likely people like us had a horrible experience and literally like wrote how they felt in the book, and of course she doesn't want, you know, future people who come to the house to see that, so she literally rips the pages out. Like, that is just so horrible. Like, you're doing an Airbnb, you're gonna have people who have good experiences and bad experiences, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you should be a better host, and then maybe you wouldn't have any people leaving negative comments. And I was just so determined to write in the book, but after I saw that there were pages ripped out, I'm like, why am I gonna waste my time writing the entire review of what transpired over us staying here for her to just take the page out and rip it? You know what I'm saying? It just made more sense to leave her a review online, because that one I know for sure she can't delete. But it's just ridiculous to me how you can behave in such a manner and then you feel the need, you know what I mean, to make it seem as if you're in the right and just say, oh well, fuck how you feel, fuck what happened, fuck how I, you know, behaved as a host. Like, just to dismiss everything that transpired when everything that happened was basically your fault. It was just like, it was like the nerve of her to even, you know, behave in that manner. But the Airbnb, I mean, the experience was okay. I'm not gonna lie to you, for my first time staying in an Airbnb, it was really horrible. She insisted one of the house rules was about putting the garbage out. We made sure that we did that and put it out on the day when they're supposed to come and collect it. We left the Airbnb and the freaking garbage was still outside, and they never came on the day that they were supposed to. So you're being all nitpicky about shit, but what you do need to worry about, which is things like the garbage, that you weren't concerned about. You were more concerned about who we were bringing in the house, and how long they were staying, and what car they were driving, and how many cars were in the driveway. Like, it just irks my nerves, because I feel like these owners, like, you have Airbnb but you're scared. So then if that's the case, don't rent your house to people. Maybe you come and live there. Like, I don't understand. Like, you cannot be, you know what I mean, just spying on people, which I think is what she was doing, because 99% of these Airbnbs have cameras, and I know that they're going throughout their day looking at the camera, seeing who comes in, who goes out, what's transpiring, you know what I'm saying? And that's just like an invasion of privacy, even though it's your house. Like, somebody is literally paying you for them to stay there, and there's no need for you to be that way, you know, looking and paying attention at every little thing. I understand if things were not being followed based on what your house rules stated, but that was not the case. And maybe you need to be a little more thorough. You spent 4 pages on house rules, mentioning things that probably didn't need to be mentioned. And if you were so adamant about nobody coming to this house, then maybe you should have stated that in the house rules, instead of worrying about putting out the garbage when the day we were leaving there were so many flies in that bin because of the garbage that we put out there that was sitting there for 2 days. Maybe you should worry about things like that, you know. But it was just like, it was just a bad experience. And I know every Airbnb is not like that. I actually have a friend who does Airbnb from her house, and she's like the nicest host. Like, if you know her, you know she's a great person, and you just can imagine what her being a host would be like. And so obviously not everyone is like this, but, and I'm not gonna say it, I mean, I'm just thinking the fact that it's Florida alone, just that state in particular, says a lot as to why, you know, people there are the way they are. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it was bad, and I just feel like overall the trip was great, because it's nice to be with your family. Because although all of that transpired, we were going back and forth every day to our other family's house, because they had an Airbnb also, and they had a certain number of people who could be in the house. But their host, she was really nice in terms of people coming in and out to visit, and them actually having a good experience. She didn't have any issue. Her main thing was, when it was time for people to sleep in the house, then it had to be the right amount of people, which that is just so much more reasonable. But for her to say, no, you can't have anyone come to see you, like, that was not the case. So we literally spent most of the time going over to that Airbnb and spending the time there with them. But it, you know, it was just, it would have been nice to have them come to our Airbnb and, you know, enjoy our space that we were renting at the moment with us and go into the pool where we were staying. On top of that, the pool had no freaking warmth. It was cold. So literally, yeah, it was hot, but you had to, like, you on your own in terms of that. It wasn't warm at all. The pool was cold. I'm pretty sure her filters won't change. There was so many things in the water. The grill was dirty. We had to clean the grill when we got there. It was just a whole lot of things that transpired. The only thing, the rooms were clean, the kitchen was clean, all of that, but there were little things like the pool being dirty, the water being cold, the grill being dirty. A lot of these things made the situation even worse, because here you are complaining about petty shit and you're not even doing what you need to do to make sure your guests are comfortable. Like, who has a pool and the water is cold? Like, I'm just saying, like, the least you can do is make sure that the water is nice and warm so that the pool's enjoyable. You know what I'm saying? Like, and a filter, it's not that hard to have a pool filtering out. So when your next guest comes, one, there's not little toys in the pool from people who stayed there previously, and two, that there's not freaking leaves and all of these other things. There was even a little frog in the pool at one time. Like, how about you're so worried about this house being destroyed when it's fucking filthy already. You're hardly doing what you're supposed to do, but you want to be petty and worry about other things. Like, it's like, I wish I didn't have to do these story times, but obviously the world we live in, you know how that goes. You know, you go places, you have bad experiences, you have good. So the more shit keeps happening, the more I'm going to talk about it. But is this gonna prevent me from, you know, staying in another Airbnb? No, because I'm pretty sure this was just a one-time horrible experience. Hopefully the next time I stay in an Airbnb, it'll be a lot better. But I just wanted to let you guys know what happened, because in one of my vlogs, I literally vlogged us leaving and sort of gave you guys like a mini tour of how the place looked, because we ensured that everything looked exactly how it was when we got there, obviously because of the pettiness of everything that happened. So now you guys finally understand why my vlog of us leaving sort of was how it was, and why there was a little bit of shade, you know, with a little bit of just a little bit of shade when, you know, when we were leaving. So it was based on the experience that we had. But I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. You know, let me know in the comments below if you've ever stayed at an Airbnb and what your experience was like, and have you ever had an experience like this happen to you. Let's talk about it in the comment section below. Definitely give today's video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed already. I would appreciate it if you join my little family on here. You know, your girl has a variety of videos that she does on here. Make sure you hit the bell notification so you get an alert every time your girl posts a new video. I love you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me on social media, Christal_Greer. That's my Instagram. And I will see you guys on my next video. Bye guys.